it's Friday. May the blessing of Allah be upon us. I welcome you to another exciting edition of From the Newspaper, streaming live from the premises of Jesus Hotel, Akpete, Ibadan. Good morning to you all. Listening to MFM 97.3, where we set the agenda and project the truth. And don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM 97.3. And as you're watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. And don't forget, this program is in form of 3 segments. The first segment is the weather forecast reports of 3 major cities in Nigeria: the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the commercial city of Lagos, and the vibrant city of Ibadan. The second segment on the show is the headlines make round of Nigerian newspaper. And as usual, let's bring 4 newspapers to you every morning: the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and Nigerian Tribune. Where the last segment on the show is the details to the headlines. My name is SHAQEEROH AKINYEMI. Alright, so moving on to the first segment on the show, which is the weather forecast report. And the first city I'm bringing on is the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At 10 a.m. in Abuja this morning is thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. is cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. And at 2 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. is intermittent clouds with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 4 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 26 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 25 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. is thunderstorms with 23 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is cloudy with 22 degrees Celsius. And at 10 p.m. is cloudy with 22 degrees Celsius. Up until 11 p.m. is cloudy with 21 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the commercial city of Lagos this morning is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 11 a.m. is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 1 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. is cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 3 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 5 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. And at 7 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 9 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is thunderstorms with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 11 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius.
Audio Jungle.
At 10 a.m. in the vibrant city of Ibadan this morning is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 12 p.m. is rain with 29 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 2 p.m. is cloudy with 31 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. is rain with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 4 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. is thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is thunderstorms with 23 degrees Celsius. And at 10 p.m. is cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. Up until 11 p.m. is cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. So moving on to the second segment on the show, which is the headlines make round of Nigerian newspaper. And the first newspaper we're bringing on is the Punch newspaper. The lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning says, Amoguiton faces tough test as new INEC chair, and page 2 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
are two riders to that story. The first rider says, opposition warns against partisanship, demands urgent reform. And the last rider says, Tinubu, APC defend appointments, urge fairness and credibility. And page 2 has the details to that stories. And above the line of the Punch newspaper says, Tinubu pardons Abat Macaulay, Vata, Farouk Lawan, and 172 others. And page 30 has the details to that story. National Assembly probes NLPCL over $18 billion refinery spendings. And page 28 has the details to that story. Tinubu clears 959 for national honors, and page 2 has the details to that story. Federal government will audit varsities over TET fund grants, and page 7 has the details to that story. Another story on the Punch newspaper says, Customs sees 1.9 billion naira house drugs, expired flour at semi-border, and page 20 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Police backs down on tinted glass enforcement, and page 28 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Another story on the Punch newspaper says, policemen forget caps in Ogun student's car after extortion, and page 5 has the details to that story. And the last story on the Punch newspaper says, Tinubu Oshun as Christopher Kolade dies, and page 30 has the details to that story. To the Vanguard newspaper. The latest story on the Vanguard newspaper says, accommodation crisis hits varsity, students, parents' wills, and page 13 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And there are some riders to that story. The first rider says, we are suffering under pressure, says NAS. Agents makes lives unbearable for students, parents. Stress of communicating from blames affecting our students. And page 13 has the details to that stories. Bilateral companies owe Nigerians $18.5 million, says NAC, and page 15 has the details to that story. Red Soda probe into $18 billion spent on refineries, and page 9 has the details to that story. Tinubu pardons about Macaulay, Ogboni 9, Vatsa Lawan, MP6 has details to that story. Another story says police arrest 12 suspects behind death of Arise News anchor Somtochukwu. MP7 has the details to that story. New INEC chair, Nigeria's party set agenda for Amukwiton. MP5 has the details to that story. Tinted glass, why police altered permit enforcement. MP3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And the last story on the Vanguard newspaper says Tinubu mourns as ex-UK convoy Christopher Akolade dies at 92. MP7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so moving on to the Guardian newspaper. The latest story on the Guardian newspaper says World Mental Health Day, 85% unreached as Nigeria buckles under massive care gaps. And page 4 and 5 has analysis to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Senate blogs 2026 fiscal planning pending review of past spendings, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Court extend order freezing Osun local governments withheld bank accounts, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Tinubu and Yauko mourns passing of Christopher Akolade, and page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Another story on the Guardian newspaper says Zone rules on regulated tuition hike stress to students low, and page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
New INEC chairman faces pressure to rebuild trust after flawed 2023 elections, and page 6 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
World Bank report. Critics says federal government rhetoric contradicts Nigerians' reality, and page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Osinbajo, Odinkalu, Ali decry moral decline canvas legal political reforms, and page 30 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Still on the Guardian newspaper, another story says IG suspends enforcement of tinted glass law pending court hearing. And page 30 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And the last story on the Guardian newspaper says Osun 2026, Oralose declares bid to contest for Guba post. And page 28 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so moving on to the last newspaper on the second segment, which is Nigerian Tribune. And the list story on Nigerian Tribune says why I picked Amikwiton says as INEC chair says Tinubu, and page 4 has the details to that story. Three riders to that story. The first rider says Council of State approves this choice. Bill Gates 758 others to get national honors. And the last rider says new police trust fund repeal. Reenactment coming. And page 4 has the details to that stories. Insecurity in Nigeria not driven by religion sending the rise. And page 29 has the details to that story. We will continue to prioritize citizens' needs in our budget, says Makinde, and page 22 has the details to that story. And there's one rider to that story that says UNICEF down commission NLC command government, and page 22 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Ekiti Governor Primary, APC disqualified Kayode Ojo, and page 11 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And there are two riders to that story. The first rider says sacked Enugu State Workings Committee. The last rider says to conduct public hearing for amendment of party constitution, and page 11 has the details to that stories.
Audio Jungle.
Tinubu lays tribute as Christopher Kolade dies at 92. And there's one rider to that story that says it's lives and times, and page 22 has the details to that stories.